Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of the day it is for you. This is the Den, episode number 19, our pregame coverage versus the Washington Commanders. I am Steve, aka Bronx, and I'm joined by a very special guest today.
Chris, aka Dingers.
Welcome, Chris. Welcome to the podcast. This is episode number 19. He is our guest co host, filling in for Nemo. Uh, but how was your day today, Chris?
Doing very good. Been on that Black Ops 6 grind. So, anything to pass the time till, kick off 325 flexed game. So we're looking forward to it.
Flex.
Big game.
We are
Prove it game.
flexed. We are flexed. The importance of this week, basically, I mean, it was hyped up. It was flexed for a reason. Caleb versus Jaden. But the real question is, will Jaden actually play? Personally, I don't think he's going to play. I think they've listed him as doubtful. They've listed him as questionable. Then they listed him as a game time decision. It, for me, to be honest, I think they're only doing that to force our defense to game plan for him, and then just
Mhm.
throw Mariota in. Um, but yeah, I think Jaden doesn't play. If honestly I was the Commanders, I would sit him. It's too early in the season to risk him to get seriously injured and to re-aggravate that, make it longer and longer. Um, you have any thoughts on that?
No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I don't think it's worth it. Everybody wants to see the showdown. I understand it. They flex the game for a reason, but at the end of the day, player safety comes first, especially when your team looking to make the postseason. So I don't think he's playing. It's going to be Mariota. I think the Bears defense needs to plan around Mariota. And just keep doing what they've been doing. They've been showing out the last couple of weeks. So that's what I got to say on that.
Yeah, that's very true. But moving on to our very first segment, our key matchups to watch. Obviously, it's a quarterback duel. Uh, Caleb Williams. I have Jaden Daniels listed, but it's going to be Mariota. Um, but we'll touch on Jaden as well as Marcus. But Caleb's coming off the bye week, obviously. But the week before, he was absolutely electric in London. I was there live to witness his play. He used his legs. It seemed like a bunch more than what we're used to. We saw some uh, uh, quarterback runs that were mixed in there. So it was good to see him moving around and making the plays and beating everybody.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Jaden Daniels. He was the number 2 pick in the draft. He's been playing outstanding football, to say the least. He has the highest completion percentage in the league. He's the second most in rushing yards behind, none other than Lamar Jackson. So if we do see him tomorrow, you gotta have, eyes on him at all times. You gotta limit what he can do. You know, the defense needs to step up, because if not, he's explosive. So I think the key to the game is the defense. If that's not telling enough.
All right. The offensive line versus the defensive front. The Bears O line versus the Commanders D line. The O line, with the addition of Matt Pryor and placing Nate Davis, has played pretty well, especially recently. Took a little bit for them to gel after Davis got hurt, and they threw Pryor in there. But they're going up against a dominant interior D line, which features Jonathan Allen and the guy they just paid, Deron Payne, two incredible talents, both relatively young. Currently, the Commanders rank 16th overall in total yards, 12th in passing, and 18 in rush defense. So, will our recent run game success continue? I think it will. Um, but I think we have to attack the outside. We have to stay away from the middle. There's no way we're going to. I mean, those two are game wreckers. I think it was last year, Jonathan Allen, or the year before that, Jonathan Allen led the NFL in quarterback pressures, and that's from a defensive tackle spot. Deron Payne had a double-digit sack season a couple of years ago with 11 and a half from the defensive tackle spot. And those three guys up front, we've seen Coleman Shelton get dominated at times. Matt Pryor is relatively new to the scheme, and Tevin Jenkins has kind of been up and down all year. He hasn't really been that steady, you know, Pro Bowl caliber guard we're expecting him to be with it, where we drafted him in the second round. So those three are going to be key to getting this run game forward, moving forward, and protecting Caleb and keeping him upright. You want to touch on the Commanders O line and Bears D line?
The D line continues to apply pressure. They got after Lawrence 3 times in the win in London, which my buddy Bronx was there for. So, and if Daniels plays, which is honestly not going to happen, as we previously touched on, it's going to be Mariota. It will be important for our guys, especially to the ends, to contain him and keep him in the pocket. So that's basically what we got for that.
100%. They have to find a way. If he does play, who knows? I mean, it is the NFL. You never know, but it's leaning towards Mariota. But if he does, we definitely have to find a way to keep him in the pocket.
And if he does play, I mean, you have to utilize, and you never want to, word this the wrong way, but you have to attack what is already weak. You got to find a way to, play strong the entire way.
Mhm.
Play clean. Don't do anything stupid. Don't get fined. None of that. But you have to attack. You can't, be soft on the guy. If that makes any sort of sense. If you get what I'm saying there.
Mhm. I understand 100%. Moving on, our game plan and strategy, the Chicago Bears strategy. Offensive side of the ball, priority number one should be to keep the pressure out of Caleb's face, especially from the interior. We had already touched about it, touched, touched, touched a little bit about it, talking about Jonathan Allen. You know, he's a special talent who pressures quarterbacks quite often, and Deron Payne is a guy who feeds off of Allen's double teams and has had double digit sack season with 11 and a half in the past. Um, Keep Caleb upright, run the ball. Those should be literally our two keys to the offensive strategy. I think, I mean, they ranked 18th in rush defense, so we should be able to run the ball. They're 16th overall in total yards. They're not as good as our defense, but they are still a top half of on the NFL defense, right? They're not a bad defense. So it's going to be important to run the ball and keep Caleb upright. I think that's the success uh, week in and week out. That's basically what we've been driving home all year long is to keep our run game going and keep Caleb clean. You want to touch on a little bit about the defensive game plan?
Yeah, but first I want to mention I'm very interested to see how
Yep.
Roshan Johnson plays, especially because I like those short, third and shorts and fourth and goals
Hmm.
even where you can just
Hmm.
kind of run them right up the middle. I want to see him get the ball. I like that, especially because of how Travis Homer's just got activated. Be interested
Hmm.
to see how that works out. So yeah, let's talk defense though. I think it's pretty simple. You shut down Austin Eckler and Robinson out of the backfield. Robinson's a solid back, and Eckler is a true dual threat. Uh, he's dual threat just like Swift. So if
Hmm.
Daniels plays, it'll be important to limit his running ability and make him uncomfortable. If he gets into a rhythm, he is the number one quarterback in the entire league. He's got a 75.6 completion percentage. So, I mean, it's easier said than done, but I mean, this Bears defense has proven that they can do it. So now it's just
Hmm.
going out and showing the world that, it's going to happen. This team has got like the legit defense. They're a top defense in the NFL for a reason. I mean, that's kind of been the Bears thing for how long now that they have great defenses. So, especially this year, I feel like this is the first time since even that 2018 year that, ended horribly that they've had this kind of caliber defense. So, all the talk of them not playing a real team, shut them up, but forget what they say, just go out there and do it. Play Chicago Bears football. And I'm not talking crappy Chicago Bears football.
Okay. It's funny that you mentioned that. I had mentioned that in the last episode. People were saying, "Oh, the Bears haven't played anybody good." Titans are number one defense in the league. Texans are number two. One and two, we face the top two defenses in the league. Now, week one was Tennessee, right? That's Caleb's first start. It's at home. He's got all the pressure of the world on him, and he's got the number one defense. At the time, I wouldn't have thought they would be number one, but and it's number one, and it's not even close. I
Yep.
don't think I think Ravens are number two, and oh no, the Texans are number two, and the I think in total yards, the Titans are like 170 total yards or some ridiculous number, um, and then it's like Houston with like 230 or 240. So like the gap between those two is crazy. And then so Caleb goes up against those in week one and three or week one and week two.
Titans was week one, and then the Texans was week two, I believe.
Was it one and two?
Yeah,
So
because they were.
His
And
first
and
two
at the end
starts
of the day,
against
it's
the top
like
two
you can
defenses.
only play who's in front of you. So it's I
100%.
hate the talk of you're playing horrible teams. Well, I mean, what do you want them to lose to the horrible teams, and then you're going to throw that in the Bears' face? I mean, they're
Mhm,
doing what they're supposed to do, um, and they're decisive wins. I mean, they put up 30 on the Panthers. That's what you're supposed to do if you're a legit team in the NFL. You're not supposed to make it a one-score game. So,
mhm,
I
mhm.
appreciate that out of the Bears. It's not that they're letting us breathe a little bit, but now you again go out, be dominant tomorrow.
100%. 100%. Moving on to the Commanders' strategy. How did the Commanders attack the Bears? How did they secure a victory? I'm going to start with the offensive side of the ball. They have to find a way to soften up this Bears defense. They need to get Robinson moving and running, and they need to find a way. I have still Jaden Daniels. If Jaden Daniels plays, they need to find a way to get that dynamic playmaker Jaden Daniels out of the pocket and moving. The Bears' only weakness we can say on this defense has been our rush defense, which currently ranks 11th in the NFL, still right there around the top 10, but it is the weakest. Overall, I believe we're seventh, sixth or seventh in total defense, seventh in passing defense, and then 11th in the rushing defense. If they have any chance of winning with Jaden playing, they need to get him moving. They need to get him out of the pocket. And they need to get Robinson going and Eckler. Eckler's a proven back. I mean, the dude's a vet. He's a gamer. Coming out of coming from the Chargers, right? Makes the journey east, and he still continues to put on a show. Even I don't know if this is year 5, 6, 7, or 8. I mean, I know he's a vet. He's not a young guy, but he still can catch the ball out of the backfield. Like you said, he's a dual threat, much like we have with DeAndre Swift. So the more times they can get the ball in his hands, the better for them. You want to touch on a little bit about the defense? What do you think they need to do to secure the win against the Bears?
If you don't mind, I'm going to throw in a little side note there.
Absolutely.
I might have to take one for the team. Austin Eckler's on my bench in my fantasy, and I played him 2 weeks. He's been his worst those 2 weeks. He might deserve a little start tomorrow, just for the Bears' sake. But no, so for the defensive side of the game, three simple words. Three simple words: pressure, Caleb, and Williams. So yeah, they got to get pressure to Caleb early. Make him make mistakes. You know, he is a rookie quarterback, completing at the highest level for, and not even halfway through the year yet.
Hmm.
Um, he's shown that he could make mistakes. I mean, there's times where he could throw out of a sack and he doesn't. So, just get Jonathan Allen and Payne rolling, and it's possible. I mean, it's the Bears' offensive line. It has
Hmm.
question marks all year round. If
Hmm.
they have one of those, games where, like the clip from, I believe it was the Colts game where they had everybody laying out. You know what I'm talking about?
The fourth and goal, that was the
Yeah,
pitch. A
yeah.
little
You know,
option.
it or yeah, my bad. But you know what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was done all right. Uh, it's the Bears' offensive line.
Hmm.
So again, they've improved. Don't get me wrong, they've improved, but you just can't have one of those step backs. You got to stay strong on the front, and then make sure provide a cushion for Caleb Williams, because if you don't, that he gets pressured, that's when the bad things start to happen.
Yep, I can agree 100%. Moving on, my favorite section, players to watch are PT Dubs. I'll start with mine on the offensive side of the ball. Look, I'm mixing it up this week. I'm going with three players. It's the interior Bears offensive line: Shelton, Jenkins, and Pryor.
Ooh,
I want to see how they can handle the dynamic duo of Allen and Payne. I feel like we've mentioned Allen and Payne this whole damn podcast, and for good reason, right? Uh, Allen is basically an all pro, like 5-time Pro Bowler. Payne's young and just got paid, had a double digit sack season. Allen is a monster, but if we can't find a ball, find a way to run the ball up the middle against these guys, we may be in trouble. Like it'll be pretty easy for that Washington defense to fly to the outside if that's the only spots we're running because we have no push up the middle. So my three players to watch on offense up there are those three in the middle: Shelton, Jenkins, and Pryor. Defensively, Jervon Dexter Sr. Look, our defense has been playing really, really well. Can Dexter continue his hot start? The guy's playing lights out. I think he's second or third on the team in sacks. Uh, and and if Daniels is playing and Dexter gets there, can he find a way to bring him down? Right? Jaden Daniels proves he's elusive. He's electric on his feet. But I think Javon gets at least one sack this week. Mark it down. You got any players to watch?
Of course. And I mean, you just mentioned running the ball up the middle. I mentioned him earlier in the podcast. My offensive player to watch, Roshan freaking Johnson. I mean, I feel
Love it.
like he's proven to be I don't want to say a surprise, but come he's improved. I like how the Bears have utilized him. I want to see him get a little bit more touches. He's a threat. You get those again. I view winning football games as doing the little things right, and I feel like most people do. Third and ones are supposed to be first downs. That's why you have a guy like Roshan Johnson, who you're gonna get that first. You're at the goal
Mhm.
line, you're gonna score, and I feel like that's gonna be the difference maker in this game. Are those little plays that make all the difference? So that's my offensive player of the player to watch. For the defense, you could play that one song by Kanye West. It's called "Homecoming" because it's Montez Sweat. Um, you know, so I think Montez Sweat, had that big kind of, I don't want to say falling out, but he said recently in a quote that he appreciates being somewhere where he's wanted. Big bold claim. Go out and show it. Go show Washington why they should not have traded him. So I think I could see a sack or two in the cards for him. So those are my two players right there.
Love it. I love it. Love the choices. Way to go. Good choices. Moving on, our predictions, basically our final segment of the podcast, our predictions. I'm going to start with mine. I think if there is no Jaden Daniels, the Bears win 31-13. It may seem like a pretty big score, but I don't think Mariota's got what he used to. He's definitely not as good as Jaden Daniels. And so I got it 31-13 with no Jaden Daniels. A little bit different if Jaden's in the game. I think it's a little bit closer. I got it at 24-21. Still Bears coming away with the victory. Because Jaden's coming off an injury, I don't know if he's going to be able to play at 100%. I don't think he's going to be running around as much as we're used to seeing him. Probably slide a shit ton more. Um, but that's my score with Jaden Daniels, 24-21 Bears. You got your score predictions?
I do, and this was not planned before the episode, but we're pretty dang close. So I also did with and without. So let's start with without because I feel like that's going to be the more likely scenario. I
Hmm.
got Bears 31. The offense has been clicking a little bit more. I want to see some Caleb the DJ quite a bit tomorrow. I think we're going to see it. So that being said, my score prediction for tomorrow without Jaden Daniels is Bears 31, Commanders 21.
Okay.
And if in the off case that he does play, I think that just shrinks one touchdown. I think the Bears score 24 on that defense, and then Commanders will put up 17 points. I feel like I think it's a relatively safe pick. I think this game's going to be tight all the way through. So I feel like we're going to be on the edge of our seats, waiting for that final turnover and going into victory formation. But I think the Bears get it done.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and comment your score prediction. What you think the Bears uh, Commanders score is going to be. But that about wraps it up for this episode. Dingers, thank you so much for jumping in place of Matt. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it
This has
always.
been awesome. The Den episode 19. If you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. If you're on Spotify, hit the subscribe as well. But as always, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much.